So I get a call from my driver about 9:30 in the evening, and he tells me that he's been out there on the interstate and he was rear-ended by another vehicle. The first thing it tells me is that that was the other guy's fault when we were rear-ended by them. But things are going to go downhill real fast. So I asked him if he checked on the other driver. He had not. He was still shaken up pretty bad. He said this is pretty serious. And so I told him, I said, get out, put out your triangles, make sure nobody hits you, make sure our accident doesn't cause a secondary accident. Get, call 911, go check on the other driver and call me back. So he goes back there, and it's a little while before he calls me back, and the police have arrived. Turns out the other driver is dead. So I'm still trying to put this through in my mind. We were rear-ended by somebody else on the interstate, so it's not our fault, right? That's the way it seems. But I'm going to tell you in just a minute why the state police prosecuted my driver like a criminal. So what happens, our driver was heading up, he loaded in Georgia, had a pretty heavy load on. And he's driving up through Georgia, he gets to Chattanooga, and now he's driving up the interstate kind of towards Knoxville. And this is one of the older trucks, didn't have a big engine on it. He was legal, but he was heavy. And he was going up some of those hills out there. And so he's going up a little hill, and he's slowing down, he's going up a hill. And somebody comes along. They said that he'd been kind of weaving in and out. He's obviously distracted. Somebody thinks that he was on his cell phone. Rear ends us at a high rate of speed, and it kills him. So why are we being prosecuted? Let's backtrack just a little bit. Our driver, heading up through Georgia, ran out of hours. He should have stopped in Chattanooga, but he did not. He decides he's going to keep going. He's going to go up to where he lives near Knoxville. So knowing he is out of hours, but it doesn't matter, everything is going to be fine. He's never been in a wreck before. Why should he get in one today? But he was in one today, and he was, about 20 minutes, a little more than 20 minutes over his hours of service when he was in that fatal crash. We as a company, we were okay because we can prove that we do not tolerate this. But he as a driver was not okay. If you see in one of my other videos I put up, and it talks about the things that we have to supply to a plaintiff's attorney when somebody is suing us, and in this case nobody sued us. Well, we had to supply all this information, the discovery, to the Tennessee State Police. Not because they were after us, but because they were going to prosecute him. I remember him calling me like the next day, and he's talking to me, and the guy's been through a stressful situation, and I'm not that bad of a guy. And so I'm trying to be empathetic, and he says, how come people are treating me like this is my fault? And I wanted to tell him, man, if you would have just stopped when you were supposed to, if you'd have just obeyed the law, this guy would have been having breakfast with his family this morning. Instead, he's dead. And so I tried to explain that, and I said there's nothing out there that says this guy was destined to die that night. Now, I know some people believe that, when your time's up, your time's up. But if that's the case, could be. But there's nothing saying that he was destined to die by hitting that driver and by hitting the back of our trailer. So just keep it in mind, and whether you're the driver who gets tempted to keep running sometimes when you're out of hours, and with the e-logs it's a little more difficult to just cheat like it was back in the paper logs when I was a driver. But still, I see drivers doing it all the time. They want to go home. They don't care if they're going to get in trouble. They just keep going because they want to get home. They run over hours on purpose. And there are fleet owners, dispatchers will let them get away with it. Well, something like that, if the case, a serious accident like this, the plaintiff's attorneys, they find out you're letting them get away with it, or the state police find out that you are letting them get away with it, then they're going to prosecute you too. I'm Danny Drummond, tips and tales from a trucking safety director. See you next time.